Morning, guys. Alright, today we are going to be installing a product that my wife actually found. It's designed to monitor the oil temperature, coolant temperature, and transmission temperature on your Eurovan, or I guess you could use it on pretty much any car. But we're going to install it on the Eurovan. And it's from a company called Gauge Innovations. Okay, they come with a bunch of instructions and a bunch of color pictures and stuff, which is nice. Basically what it is, you have your gauge that you mount on the dash. There's a junction. And then this piece here has three different leads coming off of it. So you have one that's going to go to the transmission, one that's going to go to the engine block, and one that's going to go to your coolant tank. So this one here basically is just going to mount on the coolant tank. Alright, and it's going to sense the temperature through here. And these here, you just put it to a bolt on the engine and the transmission, and it's going to sense the heat from that also. There is a power wire, and they give you a 3M for this here, and some zip ties. So, I haven't heard of this product before, I'm not familiar with it, but we're going to give it a try, see how it works. So, let's jump in and see how we make out. So the first thing they give you is the coolant temperature. Actually, it's a coolant sensor. It's not a temperature sensor. It's only designed, I believe, to measure if your coolant tank runs low. It'll trigger an alarm if it senses there's no coolant in there. I don't think it does an actual temperature reading. Now, it's designed for a flat surface, and this is a round bottle, so that could be a little difficult. But I'm guessing I will just mount it on the side here like this, and hopefully that'll work. Alright, so then the other thing is you have two leads that have these connectors on the end. Let's see if I can get a better view of this. Alright, so you have these two leads that have these connectors on the end, and you're going to find an 8mm bolt, one on the transmission, one on the engine, and it's going to sense the temperature from the engine and transmission through this wire to the computer. So first of all, let me search out a couple of bolts that I want to attach these to, and then we'll hook those up. For the engine temperature harness, I'm going to grab a bolt right behind the coil pack here. So here's your coil pack, and there's a bolt that goes to the block. There's one that has a ground wire right past it, but then there's one that just has a bracket on it. So I'm going to use that one with the bracket. You can see where my extension and my socket are going to that bolt. So I'm going to pull that out, and we'll attach the lead to that one. So the next thing I did was I dropped down the belly pan underneath the engine and transmission so we can gain access to some bolts down here, because you really can't see anything from up top. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe just grab one of these bolts up here, and we'll hook the wire to that, and we'll get a temperature reading off of that. So let me see if I can get that bolt out and see if that'll fit on the wire. Alright, so there's not a lot of bolts that are exposed on these transmissions, so I ended up getting one down the bottom here, and I ran the wire through this little hole in the block, and I'm going to run it up following these other wires, and then kind of feed it back up through the top there. So let me get these zip tied, and I'll get the pan back on there, and then we'll get the engine temperature wire hooked up. Alright, so we have the wire for the transmission sensor here, and then we're going to have the other wire for the engine. I'm going to mount this box in here somewhere by the battery. That way it'll be protected with the covers, and I got to run it right through this firewall anyways, and then I gotta hook up the coolant one. So we'll get these run. I'm gonna connect this one up, we'll put the sensor on, and then we'll get the wires run to the inside. Alright, so here you can see where I put the terminal bolted right to the block. Okay, so we get the wires coming up, and now I just gotta kind of tuck these all away. Mount this box inside of here, pull all these wires inside, and then feed this other one through the firewall here. Alright, here you can see I secured the box to the firewall We have the wires bundled up together. They are running down through the holes in this side cover going out to the sensors. So we should be able to cover everything up nicely now. I do have the main wire running through the firewall to the inside, so I think we're pretty much done out here other than putting the battery cover on, and then we'll move to the inside. Alright, so once I got the wiring through the firewall, I ran it up behind the dash. I took this defroster switch, which was over here, and I swapped it to over here, so that way it'll give me a spot where I can mount this right there. I just took this cover, cut a little notch in it so I could run the wire through, and then I ran a power and a ground to a switched power, so it'll only power up when the key is on. So I'm just about ready to test it out now. I'm just going to get some double-sided tape, mount this on here, and we'll give it a shot, see what happens. Okay, so because I don't have a flat coolant tank, mine is round, I'm going to take this plate off. Don't need that, and then I will just mount this sensor directly to the tank like this. So I'm just going to get some double-sided tape, and then I'll get that mounted on there. So like I said, this doesn't measure the temperature of the coolant, but it does measure if it gets low. So we're going to put it just below the minimum mark here, and if it tends to run low for whatever reason, it is going to trigger the alarm. So without that square bracket on there, I just put some double-sided tape on here, some Gorilla tape, and it's going to hold it really good. And then we'll start her up and make sure that the gauge is working properly. Alright, let's start her up, see what we got. Okay, so we have temperature readings. It's about 70 degrees out right now, so that makes sense. And we can see the coolant level is full, so that's good. There are different settings on the menu. Go in and set your high and low temperatures, like normal running, and then hot temperatures. You can adjust the brightness, the beeper. So yeah, it's working good. Now I did drive this earlier, and the temperatures do go up as the vehicle heats up, so I know it is working properly. But this will be a nice little addition to keep the temperatures in check. Make sure we're not overheating or low on coolant for some reason, because you never really know if you're losing coolant. You're not under the hood constantly looking at it, so it'd be nice to have a little monitor there to kind of keep an eye on that for you. Alright guys, so yeah, I think this is going to work out pretty good. We'll use it for a while, and hopefully it works out great and no issues. But if you guys want to put a temp gauge in, I didn't want to have something hooking into my OBD port, so that's nice. This doesn't do that, so you can see the temp start to go up a little bit. So it's nice because the OBD on these is right under the steering column, and I didn't want this big wire hanging down, between my legs and whatever. So this is nice. It's just kind of hardwired in and tucked out of the way. All right, guys. So we'll try it out for a while, see how it works, and I guess that's about it. So if you want to put something in your vehicle, you might want to give this a try. I'll put a link to what I got and where I got it, and give it a shot. Alright guys, have a good day, and subscribe if you haven't. Thumbs up, like, share, all that good stuff. Alright, I'll catch you on the next one.